Well, welcome back.
Well,
Good to
see
see
you.
ya.
Yeah, good to see you.
Hey, is everything going well with you this week?
Oh, it was pretty good.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. We're going to plunge right in here today because we don't have so much time and there are a lot of things I'd like to discuss. Just to go over some things that we talked about last week, and let's just make sure that I have a clear picture of. I know that you were in the Army and that you really love the structured life and the regimented life of being in the military because you knew what to expect from the other people and they knew what their place was and what they should be doing. Am I correct about that?
No, you got that good.
Okay. All right. And then the reason that you're here was because you were struggling with an anger problem. You kind of let somebody have it, not hitting, but verbally, and you did pull over to have a conflict with another driver, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. And I believe we talked some about anger in general, and you said you didn't feel like you had other areas in your life where you were having problems with anger.
I don't kick the dog or nothing like that.
Well, that's good. That's real good. Um, so, I'd like to explore why you feel that. What is it that cues you to become angry? Do you or have you ever experienced at other times besides this one any problems with being angry with other drivers?
I can't think of any other time that I usually get mad. I'm usually easygoing. I think most people would tell you that. It's just when you're driving, I take driving so serious. Like I told you one time, I drove a truck for many years. So it kind of gets me the disrespect to the truckers when they live out there. And I have a strong feeling for those guys because it is a rougher life than most people realize.
Well, beyond that, have you ever had any other instances where you feel like you drove and your driving was that you were driven to behave in a certain way on the road because you were angry?
Mm, well, that's really the only time I've really had a confrontation with anybody. But I've never rolled down my window and yelled at anybody. I reckon more or less I just murmured with myself. Yeah, well, there was that time I cut that girl's finger off that time. On the interstate, she kept persisting on riding side by side. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was an incident there.
So what happened with that?
Well, we both pulled over, and I actually apologized. I realized I got a little carried away, risked us both for that. Yeah, it was a long time ago. I reckon I've actually had this for a pretty good while. Maybe Judge was right sending me up here. What can we do about it?
Well, I hope that might be one of the goals. I mean, the judge sent you here, and you're not. I don't want you to succumb because it's the way that you're going to get out of whatever punishments they were going to give you. But I'd really like to see this be something where you can take something away, where you can say, "I'm glad that I went." So I'm hoping that as we start talking about anger and driving and maybe just anger in general, you might find that if it's an area in your life where you're struggling with sometimes.
I don't think I'll ever be a pacifist. I like to make things happen instead of just go with the flow. I usually like to. I don't think I could be one of the ducks in a row. I have to take the initiative to pursue.
Well, I want to make it clear that getting angry is not a negative thing. Um, Holding in your anger isn't good for you. People that don't express their anger often get sick and different
blood pressure.
high blood pressure. It aggravates your diabetes. There's lots of reasons. Being angry in itself is not a bad thing.
You don't lose your hair with it.
I don't think that's one of the symptoms. But it's just that you need to develop positive ways of expressing your anger, and that a healthy way, something that will allow you to get that out, whether it's exercise or talking or whatever it is. We need to develop a way to help you express your anger in a more creative way. I'm going to go through some things here. Out of control anger is the thing that you're having a problem with, not the kind of anger that you might be managing at home or whatever. Do you ever have problems at work managing your anger?
I've been confronted one time with an irrational guy, but I controlled it pretty good. I removed myself from the area. So.
Your work has some very specific plans for when you deal with aggressive patients?
Well, you know, we're here at the VA, and you got a lot of PTSD involved. I know you know what that is.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you have a lot of that involved. And then a lot of them have maybe mental problems in themselves.
Yeah.
So each one's different.
Okay.
But occasionally you'll run across a guy that's just looking to be mad in the first place, or constantly mad. And you kind of usually deal with most people, but there has been a time when I had to leave the room and let my partner take care of that.
Well, it's a good choice. So you found that in a situation where you were confronted with someone that was trying to spark anger in you, you felt that removing yourself from the situation was the best thing to do.
Yeah, he was trying to make me mad, so I figured I just
That sounds like a really good choice. So if you were driving on the road, how could you use that technique to avoid someone who is driving aggressively or speeding or talking? Yeah.
Take him out of the situation.
No. Maybe remove yourself from the situation.
Maybe I could get off the exit or something and get a drink.
That sounds like a good idea. If you feel like your anger's really rising, maybe you could slow down and let them go far ahead.
But there again, there's a pacifist thing. I want to go. I don't want to be.
I understand that. That you feel maybe that that being angry means that you're, well, if you weren't angry, you feel that you were compromising.
Yeah, maybe.
Is it the aggressive part of that? The lack of that aggression makes you feel that you're compromising?
More like I've been compromised.
Okay. Like someone has compromised you.
Yeah.
Well, when the person who yells the loudest in an argument, are they just imposing their will on someone else that's not willing to yell loud enough?
I hadn't thought about that, I suppose.
Would it make you feel a bit like a failure if you didn't show aggressive behavior when someone else was driving erratically or, not using their turn signals?
Nah, I wouldn't say so. I've never felt like a failure.
Well, good. Good, that's positive. How do you usually express your emotions, say in other situations where you're not having angry problems, but where you're discontented with something that's going on?
If I get involved in something else, then that attention to something else.
So if
leave it alone for a while.
you walk away?
I don't run away from it. I leave it alone for a while.
Okay.
I don't desert it. I plan on coming back to it. For instance, I'm having trouble building something. And putting something together, everything's doing wrong. Sometimes it's better just to leave it alone and come back to it later.
Okay.
Besides,
That sounds like a good way of dealing with your frustration.
now my other brother, he'd have broke it into pieces and thrown it in the garbage.
Was that a family plan that they, did that
I
happen
reckon
a lot?
maybe seeing that's what helped me be the opposite.
Oh, so you saw a lot of that and you
Yeah, like he's
wanna break
losing a
that.
chess game, he'll knock all the pieces out.
Oh, when you're angry. I have another question. How do you view opinions? Do you view other people's opinions as a challenge to your, you as a person?
Opinions.
Yes, if someone has an opposite opinion.
I reckon it's how I respect the individual first, where it's coming from. You know.
What if it's someone you
understand
don't
what
know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty good judge of character, but I think everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You know, whether or not it's when they try to force their opinions on you. But I think everybody has an opinion. And you can always learn from everybody. There's always something you can learn from somebody.
Well, it sounds like you've got pretty good control of your anger when it comes to most other situations in your life, and that we probably really do need to focus exclusively on the problems you're having while you're driving and your emotions when you're driving, and how they're getting out of control. So, let's see if we can develop a plan, something to help you. We've decided that walking away is a good thing. Are there alternate routes to work that don't involve the more stressful driving? Where is the most stressful driving for you? On the highways?
City traffic.
City traffic. And you have to go through the
Interstate.
city traffic.
Yeah.
Do you have to be on the interstate while you go?
I don't know of any other way, unless it's 20 miles out of the way.
Okay.
I really don't like going the same way to work every day. I like doing different directions, different ways. But
Can you do that?
not in this job.
Okay.
But
Well,
I've got good company.
What about different times of day? Is the traffic different at different times of day?
Well, of course, you got rush hour and so forth.
So could that maybe cut down on some of your driving stress to leave a little earlier, maybe 20 minutes earlier or something, and take your time, go into work? Is that feasible?
Yeah, if I can get the wife up early enough.
Right.
She's hard to get up early.
Really? Well, one thing that you might also consider is that does your driving and the anger you've experienced in driving, does that affect your relationships with, your children, your wife, your coworkers? Does that ever affect anyone else or is it just,
Well, she looks like she's going to get in the floorboards sometime.
So does that affect your relationship with your wife?
Of course, it hurts me. She don't trust me like that, but I'm the professional driver. She's the amateur.
Have you always been
Arrogant.
no, I wasn't going to call you arrogant, but have you always been inconsiderate to her feelings and when you're driving, or is that
always
just
taking her.
that matters to you though, how she feels about your
Definitely.
driving? Okay. Does she ever talk to you about that?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what does she say? What does she want from you when she rides with you in the car?
Well, it depends on if I got my hearing aid yet.
Okay.
No,
Well, let's move on then.
She makes a lot of sense most of the time.
Uh-huh. So you're willing to say that maybe you could use some improvement, even though you are a professional driver, that you might be able to use those.
I was always willing to learn.
Well, good. That's really good news. Positive attitude. Let's talk about identifying. We talked about some resources of maybe how to change your driving patterns, something that might make it a little less stressful on your drive into work. And I'd like for you to try to do that this week. But let's also do one more thing, if you don't mind. And I'd like for you to make a mental note while you're driving. And I don't want you to have pen and paper at the wheel, or you'll be the guilty one then. But while you're driving in, if you encounter other drivers that get your dander up, and from their driving, I'd like for you to think about how that makes you feel. Is your heart beating fast? Is your breathing up? Is this making your adrenaline drive, just seeing what this person is doing on the road? How does it make you feel? And I'd like for you to be able to talk to me about how that makes you feel next week. If you would do that, I think we may be able to identify some triggers for you so that you'll be able to say, I feel myself doing this. Wait a minute, I got to slow down a little bit, okay? So let's do that. And then I also would like for you to look around at other drivers on the road who are doing positive things that you feel like that's a really good driver. I'd like to see that person, that person needs to be congratulated. They're doing a great job of driving. I think it's important for you to see some of the positive things on the road.
Well, I see a lot of positive things.
Good.
Especially when they're keeping out of my way.
Well, all right. I would like to hear about the positive things and about how your body changes and how it makes you feel
I'll pay attention to that.
when you start feeling yourself getting
Try to
angry.
grip the steering a little tighter.
Yeah. So that you can get those body cues down and kind of get a grip on
I'll look for that.
All right. Well, let's just recap very briefly. We talked about the different things about being angry and the positives and the negatives about being angry. You discussed with me other situations in driving where you had some areas you needed to work on and some close calls, apparently. And we have a strategy in place and a little homework to do. You're going to take notice of your body when you do get angry or feel upset about other drivers on the road. And you can look around and see what kind of people or how other people are driving that you feel are really positive, that some drivers on the road are doing a good job, and it's not just the negative ones. So I'd like to hear about that next week when you come. Do you have any questions for me?
Can't think of anything.
All right. Well, I'll see you again next week, same time.
Where's the beer?
There's no beer.